Frontline Conversations, leading the debate since 1984.
For Frontline Conversations, I'm absolutely delighted to have this very important word with an MP from Srinagar, Aga Ruhullah Mehdi, who gives representation to his people after 6 years. There has been no representation. There is no representative politics in the Indian Parliament, in any assembly for people of Jammu and Kashmir. So it's significant that he is here as a voice in Indian Parliament. He's one of the 3 MPs from the Valley, 2 are from the National Conference, and 1 is Engineer Rashid, who won while being in Tihar jail. But we'll get to that later. First, sir, what is it like to be in Parliament now, today?
It's like coming to an institution which betrayed you, which is for many of us, most of us would believe that that's the temple of democracy, and it's very hard to digest that the temple of democracy that you would want to enjoy in many ways and cherish that journey from assembly to the highest temple of democracy. But it reminds me of how this institution betrayed the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and how institutionally, I used this word some other day at an event, how institutionally this institution bulldozed the rights of people of Jammu and Kashmir. We believed in the principles and the principality of this institution in 1947. We thought this institution is a guarantee that this nation will function democratically, and it will function with the spirits of the constitution. But this institution reminds me that this is the institution which not only went away from the spirits of democracy, but took a decision which was undemocratic, and that is removal of Article 370, taking away the dignity of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the rights, the democratic rights, the constitutional rights, the basic reason for which we acceded to the Union of India. So this institution has a bad, it gives you bad memories, it gives you bad feeling, which I would not want to have in a democracy. I would want to come and cherish this journey. But this is sort of a struggle to come here to, at first level, remind this institution what it was for, what it stands for, what it should work as. So there's a lot beneath this journey from assembly to parliament. And
you've been 3-term MLA before you are now an MP, but for an institution such as Indian Parliament, which has also brought about significant changes in this election, and you have, in every chance, you have got to speak in Parliament, in this new Parliament, you have managed to make an impact. I've noted that. You have put forth your point of view. And there was an argument with the government speaker, and the speaker did not stand by you when you said that it was there was no debate over 370. And they responded that it went on for so many hours. Have we solved that matter? That there was no parliamentary debate?
That's not solved, and you don't get a chance to solve that. And that would only be solved when this government accepts the mistakes that it has made and accepts the fact that it represents a democracy, and in that democracy they have to function democratically. The fact that I wanted to point towards is that the removal of Article 370 was done in a rush, and that decided the fate of almost 13 million people, and that decided the fate of a state to which you asked 70 years or 75 years ago, you asked them to accede with this union, to make this union secular, visibly secular and functionally secular, and that would add, the addition of that state would add to the charm of this secular nation. At that moment you needed Jammu and Kashmir, and you asked the people of Jammu and Kashmir for their will, and when you took away the rights and the dignity of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, you didn't even bother to ask them, and you sent a notice through governor to the people of Jammu and Kashmir that your rights have been taken away, your status is degraded, your constitutional identity is removed, and that was all done in one day, in a strike of a pen.
August.
You can say August 5.
5. So we are coming to the 5th
So
anniversary.
yes, so that's not the way you legislate on issues like that. And what I wanted to say is that you did it, and I wanted to remind that speaker his duty, and that's
the speaker, Mr. Om Birla.
Yes, that's the context of my that little speech. I wanted to tell him, while that all legislation was being done and that debate was being held in Parliament, your member of Parliament, because he's a custodian of all the members of the Parliament, your member of Parliament from Srinagar, that was Farooq Abdullah Saab. He was put in house arrest, or he was put in a jail, so to say. You didn't bother to ask the government where my MP is and for what crime he has been put behind bars or put under house arrest. And he had the right to come and participate in that debate and represent the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So I can say, while that debate was being held, while that legislation was being done about the people of Jammu and Kashmir, we didn't have the fair chance to participate in that debate and to participate in that legislation. So we were unrepresented.
Unless there is some legal intervention, which appears unlikely, I don't see a reversal. I'm being a realist. I'm not being an idealist here.
I agree with that.
I don't see a reversal, but what I have for you is that on the Supreme Court of India has set September 30th, just now 2 months, as the deadline to have state elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what is interesting about that order of the Supreme Court is that Jammu and Kashmir is a union territory. So we are having elections to a union territory. So that order could have also raised questions about the status. It has not. But nevertheless, a deadline has been put. I understand the Article 370 feeling, but that is irreversible. Do you see any potential gains for the rights of the people through democratic means by having? Do you see the government moving towards an assembly? I can't even call it an assembly, an election to a union territory. But so if I say by mistake assembly, let me just call it assembly.
Assembly
election.
for a union territory.
Assembly for a union territory. That would be correct. Do you see that happening in less than 2 months?
Well, first of all, for me, Article 370 is not irreversible. That is pretty much reversible. The decisions that were taken on August 5, it's a matter of time and how.
Okay.
So, but since your question is not for that, let's keep that part aside. The government at the moment is trying to find ways, and what is visible in Jammu and Kashmir is trying to find the ways to make excuses not to hold the elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Though my narrative and my purpose of coming to a parliament is not begging for elections. That's the least I could ask for. I mean, that's the least we could go down to. My own purpose is not asking and begging for elections. My own purpose is to elevate the status of that assembly to the level where it was, to elevate the institution to the level where it was. But generally speaking, since the Supreme Court has given a directive to this government, in a natural course, a government should have started the process for the elections. But that deadline says the month of September, and you can't see anything happening in Jammu and Kashmir. And on the other side, while our brave hearts are giving their lives in Jammu and Kashmir, the political ecosystem of BJP are making noises, making those incidents or militancy-related, terrorism-related incidents an excuse for not holding elections. So therefore, you can sense that this government is not willing to hold elections in Jammu and Kashmir.
So, the renewed violence in the Jammu side of the border in new sectors. Suddenly, where 11 soldiers have apparently died in the month of July alone, according to a media figure. Is this entirely the Pakistan regulars who are doing it, or is it proxies, or how do you see it? In the Jammu, what is going on? Can you explain it?
I'm not privy to the informations, and unfortunately we are away from the institutions. We, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, are away from the institutions. All the institutions from administration to policing and security grid is all under the control of Delhi, and people from outside the state control this. Therefore, all the information and counter-insurgency plans and all that you must have is not with us. I'm not privy to that. But what one could sense is that I don't think that they are Pakistani regulars, but they may be proxies. And one can say that most of them are not the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir. They're not.
Okay. So
they're
it
not
is outside
locals.
elements who are
Outside elements. But the question is, these incidents, bring the attention towards the fact that we used to say that 370 has nothing to do with militancy. 370 is an article of faith which is pro-nation, which is pro the idea of India. This is an argument against militancy. This is an argument, 370 is an argument, a substantial argument, a substance against the idea of separatism. This regime came on a campaign saying that whatever is happening in Jammu and Kashmir is happening because of 370, and they removed it undemocratically and unconstitutionally. They removed it. But after 5 years, you could see all those elements still playing in Jammu and Kashmir, which used to play before the removal of 370. Therefore, this vindicates the fact that militancy had nothing to do with Article 370. Those who hold guns and those who use gun and violence do not believe in the Constitution of India. Those who believed in Article 370 believed in Constitution of India. Therefore, for them, the idea of India does not exist. They don't want to accept the the state of Jammu and Kashmir as a part of India. That's why you can see that with or without 370, their violence continues, their plan of their actions continue, and we continue to see the militancy. And this has now turned to the places, the hotbed of militancy, the new hotbed of militancy, have become those areas where you wouldn't see any militancy or militancy-related incident happening before the removal of 370.
Yeah.
This hotbed has shifted from Kashmir Valley to Jammu, to those regions where it was unprecedented. And new areas of militancy is emerging. And the question now is a time that the people of the entire nation hold this government accountable. Because we lose the lives, the Jawans, the civilians. These are all lives, and we continue to lose them.
You have indicated that the upping of violence in Jammu and the attack on Indian Army positions and soldiers and all, that's also one of the factors that could contribute towards not holding elections to the assembly.
That should not be a factor contributing. That's unfortunately an excuse for the ruling regime for not holding elections.
Kashmir is, to my knowledge, it used to be the most militarized place in the world.
When we held elections in 1996, the militancy had taken over entire Jammu and Kashmir, barring certain districts. The militancy was at its peak.
Okay.
Militants were at every nook and corner. And we went with the idea of democracy, that democracy cannot be defeated. We held the elections and successfully held the elections. Today, when the militancy is not as bad as it was, the idea is reversed. Then at that time you would go with the democracy to fight militancy. Now you make the incidents an excuse for surrendering or not for denying or not giving the people of Jammu and Kashmir an opportunity of democracy.
I think I covered the election when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister of India, 2002 or 3?
2002, yes.
2. And when he made that Insaniyat Jamhuriyat.
That was my first assembly election.
So I covered it. So the BJP has been, historically the party has held a good election by the standards of Kashmir elections. It was a good election that was conducted in Kashmir, in the sense that it had a reasonable amount of credibility. Am I wrong about that?
That's a different debate, but for the optics, for the narrative, I can agree with it. Yes, they brought certain narratives which gave a certain amount of credibility to the process itself, and that's how India functioned, and that's how Atal Bihari Vajpayee himself functioned.
Yes, he did.
So at the moment, every opportunity is used to deny people of Jammu and Kashmir their right to democracy and right to decide for themselves.
So your priority right now is, you would like to see an election, but you also think that upgrading to an assembly status is extremely crucial.
I mean, not only upgrading to assemblies, the state status, the status of statehood.
The
For
statehood,
me,
restoring.
it's a fight for the I mean, reversal of the decisions taken on August 5. For me, it's, I mean, to be brutally honest, this is a forced relation at the moment between Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of India. I don't want my, I'm like many other people, thousands of us gave blood for the idea of India, for the democracy and the principles of this constitution. We gave blood for that. That relation for which we gave blood was by our will, and we could find some dignity. We could, I mean, feel the existence in that relation. At the moment, and I'm one among them, I have been speaking about this many times. Thousands of us have given blood for this. My father was assassinated.
Your father was assassinated?
Yes, he was assassinated.
By militants?
By militants. His car was blown
which year
with an IED, year 2000. So this is an idea for which we have given our blood. So at the moment, we don't feel that dignity. We don't feel that relation. Today, what we feel is a forced relationship. We are a second-class citizen of this nation, and when we acceded to the Union of India, we were never told that you will be a second-class citizen and your status will be degraded. I have not surrendered. I have not given in to the fact that our status is reduced, our constitutional guarantee is taken. My struggle and my fight may be long and tough, but I have not given up. So therefore, my priority is not the return of statehood. Statehood is not my priority. A state with the constitutional rights and status that it had, that was promised to it, which was a sovereign promise and delivered through the article of the Constitution. I want that status back. I want that constitutional guarantee functional in Jammu and Kashmir. I want that relation for which we gave our blood. Therefore, this status is something in which I feel is a forced status as well as a relationship. But having said that, yes.
Yeah, but I think I'm very happy to see you in Parliament, because there is no route but democracy, no matter how tough the state might be. I have a question to ask you, which I had not intended, but do you think that the politics of India, of a dominant party in India, plays Kashmir through a strategic thing, or is it through a Hindu-Muslim prism? He's saying that the refugees have, Pandits left the valleys on.
Unfortunately, it's not a strategic move, it's not a strategic policy. It's a pure political and electoral, narrative and policy that this regime has come up with. It's a pure policy of, creating a ghost who doesn't exist. Ghost of an extremist militant Muslim, extremist Muslim with a state who is a threat to the majority population. And for that ghost, the best identity that they could get, that ghost is, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the state of Jammu and Kashmir, a Muslim majority state with a state, with constitutional and democratic strength and representation. And there's no better option for a regime or an ideology. They need a villain. This ideology can only survive while there's a villain for them, or there's a villain for them.
The Muslim as a villain. So yes. Kashmir is part of it.
So Kashmir is part of that alienation, polarization, through which they get the vote.
You mentioned delimitation. I want to know, because the word used elsewhere is gerrymandering. What has been, let's say you were an MLA 3 times. How has the BJP or the regime or whichever platform looked at it, how was it done in order to defeat what purpose? What was the intention? You can just give, so that the audience can understand why delimitation sometimes is politically motivated. Is it indeed so, or is it just about population?
Sometimes, I don't know about sometimes, but this time it was politically motivated, and people of the rest of India can come and take this.
Please tell me, can you illustrate with one example?
Case for a study and see. They came up with an idea that BJP can somehow manage numbers with which they can get a Hindu chief minister in Jammu and Kashmir. This is in their scheme of things, to one day tell the majority a big section of the majority Hindu population, that now we have a Hindu chief minister in Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, in a natural course, if a Shia can come from a Sunni dominant
You are a Shia from a
constituency,
Sunni, just to clarify.
it is a natural and normal process with the acceptability of the people. I come from, in a sort, I come from a minority of sorts. I don't believe in that, of sorts. Shias in my constituency are 1%, 99% are, Sunnis. If people could accept a person like me and give him the representation, the mandate to represent, this could also happen with a Hindu citizen of Jammu and Kashmir in a natural course. If you could see a Sikh prime minister in a natural course, in a normal course, that's fine. Jammu and Kashmir, people of Jammu and Kashmir were always ready for that normal course. If someone with merits and political merits and with all these, political qualities, quote unquote, could come up and be a chief minister. But the idea of BJP is a forced one. That's not a normal process. That's a forced one. Therefore, the difference, I wanted to make this difference. Their idea is a forced one. They want to force, change the numbers in the assembly. That's why they started the delimitation process. And in Jammu, they threw the Muslim populations from some Hindu-dominated constituencies where they were in Jammu region, where the Muslims were in substantial numbers.
So to make it possible, that is, just to explain, delimitation means redrawing the maps of boundaries of constituencies, right?
On the basis of demography.
On the basis of demography. So you gerrymandering means you do it in such a way that a Muslim population does not have the capacity to
loses the advantage or at the disadvantage. Same happened for, that was for assembly segments, assembly constituencies. The other thing that they did for the parliamentary constituencies, Jammu parliamentary constituency had a substantial Muslim population from Poonch and Rajouri, which is called Pir Panchal, had a substantial. To make it all-time 100% guaranteed Hindu constituency, they took the Poonch and Rajouri districts of Jammu region and put it with South Kashmir Valley constituency, Anantnag constituency. And there's a huge range of mountains, Himalayan mountains called Pir Panchal in between. There's no connect. The natural connect is between Rajouri and Jammu, Poonch and Jammu. There is no connect between.
But it has been done.
They took and put that population in. Therefore, what happened? The Muslim population was added to a constituency which was already a Muslim dominant constituency. Now that gives an advantage to Jammu constituency.
Are we talking Lok Sabha or are we
talking about Lok Sabha constituency.
So right now the BJP has 2 seats from the Jammu region.
From Jammu region.
You have the National Conference has 2
seats from Kashmir Valley, that is Srinagar, my constituency, and South Kashmir, Anantnag constituency.
And then the 2 are Ladakh.
One is from
Ladakh,
that is independent, and the other is from North Kashmir, Baramulla. Engineer seat.
Yes, that's engineer seat. So right now, so the BJP has managed to win its 2 Lok Sabha seats from
Jammu region.
Jammu region. You know?
And they had their proxies in Valley, for whose advantage they tried to delimit
Who are
the
the proxies of the BJP? Please elaborate for me.
Sajjad Lone is, his party is
a proxy, okay.
The Apni party, they call it Altaf Bukhari.
That is
openly he said that he wants to, and he is happy to work with BJP, and he's glad that he gets the support of BJP. And
that party didn't do at all what they thought.
They lost their deposit.
They lost their deposit.
They lost their deposit, and the other party from the North, People's Conference, lost the elections badly. So people knew it. They are working for the interests of BJP, and that's why they were.
And then what? May I just ask you, because everybody in Delhi used to know Ghulam Nabi Azad. What happened to him?
Another proxy. Thank you for the name.
We all knew him. He was a very pleasant person. He was chief minister. All Delhi journalists knew. Is he also seen by you as a proxy?
Unfortunately, he fell very down. From a position where he was, and a status that he enjoyed, and the work that he could, the service that he could do to the politics of India. He fell very down to, to a level where he chose to serve the interests of BJP. And he, he planted, candidates in the areas where if a Muslim candidate is added in the fray, the advantage goes to BJP, and
BJP.
you can get the example
So,
of
okay.
certain those things from many
So
places.
you are describing him also as a proxy.
He did that job, yes.
But then, okay, but then the politics of Jammu and Kashmir can, on such a wide range.
Fortunately, the people of Jammu and Kashmir are politically very, up to the mark, and
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
up to the situation. They, because of the, the crisis they have been
Yeah,
through
yeah.
for the last 30 years, they are politically very mature. They can sense who is who and what is
Yeah.
he up to. They sense anyone who was close to, serving the interests of BJP in Jammu and Kashmir was shown their
Was
place.
shown their way. Absolutely, yeah. So now I want to get to, that's why I want to ask you about the phenomena of, I would call it a phenomena, Engineer Rashid, who defeated Umar Abdullah, one of the leaders of your party, of the family of your party, in Baramulla seat. And he was in jail. Engineer Rashid, the reason he remained in jail, and somehow he managed to defeat him by 2 lakhs. Almost 2 lakh votes. And how, so at the same time, this happens in an election, whereas you managed to win very convincingly. So when New Delhi was saying, oh, see, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, it has been successful, taking away Article 370 and all, that they are now going to, New Delhi's proxies were also in the fray, but they defeated each one of the proxies.
Right.
But they also defeated Umar Abdullah. And they chose someone who is incarcerated, who is a symbol of resistance to the Indian state, who is in jail, who will not come out of jail in the foreseeable future. So in the future, can we say that the people of Kashmir could use the instruments of democracy to subvert the agenda of the Indian state? Is that what it shows, the victory of Engineer Rashid?
For me, the election of Engineer Rashid is a combination of two factors. One is the fact that you just said that there was a sentiment, and there is a sentiment, and a sentiment which also I would want to believe that I represent. That whatever happened with us on August 5, 2019 is completely unacceptable. Completely. We are on the same page, every one of us. There may be then different levels. I believe in the Constitution of India. I believe in the functional democracy of India, not the status that we have, the status of democracy at the moment in India. I believe in fully functional democracy, and that is the idea of India. I don't believe in, extreme ideologies. There are levels to it. I represent a sentiment which has not accepted the decisions of August 5. Then there is a sentiment which goes beyond that, and I do not, represent that. In Engineer Rashid's case, all the levels would have combined, must have combined. There are chances. And there was one added factor to that, and that was sympathy. That was pure emotions and sympathy. His children went around, campaigning to every nook and corner, asking for one simple thing. Your vote is a key for the release of our father. Otherwise, he'll be hanged. And no one knew that his case does not hang him, that does not go to the extent hanging him.
He's not likely to be hanged.
He's not likely to be hanged, and I pray for his release in whatever case he is, booked.
UAPA cases.
Yes, I pray for his release. What I'm trying to say is the emotion was that with our vote, this individual can get released. So it was a combination of two things, a sentiment and this sympathy, this emotion. So there's not a clear-cut answer to what happened, what was the leading factor in the election of Engineer Rashid. But what you just pointed out to, that's a reality. That remains a reality.
It's a reality.
And for many reasons, yes, for genuine reasons as well. If you want the people of Jammu and Kashmir to express, and want them expressed not violently, not otherwise, democracy is the only way for them to express. It is the only way. For them to express. And at the same time, whatever comes from there democratically, you have to respect that. If you do not want, see, I and people like me, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them, do not believe in violence. We have stood against violence. I repeat, we have given blood against
Yeah.
violence.
You said your father was
Yeah,
assassinated, huh?
So we'll always believe.
Even Sajjad Lone, actually, I first met him after his father had been assassinated.
Right.
So this is a history of
So,
Kashmir. Huh?
if we come up and speak, express democratically through these institutions, whatever the opinion, whatever the narrative, whatever the mandate is, the rest of India needs to respect that.
But here I have to ask you a slightly tricky, sensitive question, because it suggests that you have won a very convincing mandate. There is another representative of the National Conference, but Umar Abdullah, a former chief minister, has been rejected by the people in Kashmir Valley. So that there's a message. Whereas Mehbooba Mufti also, her party PDP has lost everything. I mean, I have known both Umar and Mehbooba very personally, and so I ask you that, is this also the people of Kashmir rejecting some of the parties which were traditionally seen, who played within the democratic system?
In PDP's case, it was anticipated because it's fresh in the memories of people of Jammu and Kashmir that many of us believe that had BJP not given the way to the state of Jammu and Kashmir in 2014, things would not have turned as they turned in 2019. We offered PDP unconditional support and told them that we'll support you from outside. Do not go within with BJP for an alliance. But they didn't heed to that. They didn't listen to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They didn't listen to National Conference. They went with BJP, and then things started turning the way they turned. So that's fresh in the collective memory of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. That was a reason one could anticipate that PDP does not have a electoral chance at the moment. Their fight was for their survival, for their existence, to show that they are still there, the organization is still there. In case of Mr. Umar Abdullah, I mean, no one anticipated it, and there was no such undercurrent. One could at least feel that there is an undercurrent which is against National Conference or Umar Abdullah in that constituency. There was nothing like that. It was all about National Conference versus PC, which was seen as proxy of BJP.
People's Conference, which is Sajjad Lone's party, just to clarify.
Yes. The fight was till the last week of the campaigning. The fight was between National Conference and the candidate Umar Abdullah against PC, and People's Conference was seen as a proxy of
Delhi.
Delhi.
And then suddenly this happens.
Suddenly, the last week of campaigning, you saw one more figure propping up very strongly.
It is
and as I said, it was a combination of two.
He defeated Umar Abdullah by 2 lakh votes while sitting in jail, and Sajjad Lone 1 lakh votes.
Right. So it was a combination of two. As I said, it was a combination of sentiment and sympathy that went in favor of Engineer Rashid. Having said that, whatever sentiment he represents, because it came democratically, the mandate came democratically, the union needs to respect that.
There's one more thing, and again, I based it on Umar Abdullah has tweeted that the Jamaat-e-Islami of Jammu and Kashmir was banned, and its spearheaded militancy. This is his tweet I'm quoting, in the valley for three and a half decades ago. He says it is believed that the ban on them could be lifted and they could directly contest elections in the valley or through proxies. Now I'm asking you, is that indeed so? Why would the government or the governor or anyone want Jamaat-e-Islami in the fray? Is that happening? What could it be? Do you think it should happen?
I mean, it's amazing for us in two ways. An organization which believed in extreme ways of things, which believed in, I don't want to name certain things, which believed in on the other extreme, is now interestingly trying to come into mainstream, the mainstream which they tagged as outcast and outlaw.
They said collaborators with India.
Collaborators and kafirs, they would call us.
They would call you kafirs?
Yes, they would call us kafirs.
Achha.
The same organization which asked for the blood of people. We only asked for the vote of people for our ideology. They asked for the youth.
Okay.
Those youngsters are in graves. now are tilted towards the ideology which they oppose with gun. That's amazing. I welcome that stuff. They have this realization after 30 years, after 1 lakh graves.
1 lakh graves.
More than 1 lakh
So
graves.
are we
They have
saying,
that
I would like to educate myself on what is the Jamaat-e-Islami in Kashmir. Are they linked to the so-called terror organizations which came?
It's known for all. It's known for all.
Right?
They had their
I'm
organization.
because
They had
you know
their
Kashmir
militant
is so
outfit.
complicated.
Yes.
There is the seen and there is the unseen. It's always been like that, you know.
Jamaat-e-Islami had their militant outfit. I don't want to name that outfit. It's known for all, and that was very dominant militant outfit in Jammu and Kashmir, functioning in Jammu and Kashmir up till very recently, and which was politically very, aggressive.
So it's interesting that they.
And now, it's interesting.
So there must be some credible.
On the other side, why it is?
Why
said
would the
it's
government
funny
do
in
it?
2 ways. Now, a regime or a political party, that is BJP, which believes in, hardcore approach towards certain things, finds, Jamaat Islami
acceptable. So is
very
it
acceptable
happening?
and very nationalistic.
Is it? I presume it's credible since Umar Abdullah has said it publicly, tweeted it publicly. It's credible information.
Yes, it is.
There is something.
There's a communication happening between the organization, that is Jamaat Islami, and
I wonder
I would want to see the day when Jamaat Islami comes and participates in the election in their own name as their own organization, and that will settle many things, because they have won. Use gun against elections, use gun against voters, use guns against candidates.
Everyone in Kashmir is from families which have been assassinated.
We are all victims.
Sajjad Lone might be a proxy, might be described, but his father was assassinated. So many. Your father was assassinated.
Many of us. And that political party at the second level, after using that extreme, thing, they helped certain political parties in the electioneering. They wouldn't contest directly, but they would help certain political parties. This will settle all those. The dust will clear, and
if Jamaat Islami comes in,
they will come on their own, and they'll be.
Why would the BJP want Jamaat Islami in the electoral fray?
I would want to see a day when Jamaat Islami. I would repeat.
You think it would be? Maybe it will be.
It's good.
Let them come.
If there is a realization,
maybe they're giving up guns.
I hope so. That's the reason
maybe it's like a massive surrender. But you're saying they called all of you kafirs also?
We have bigger heart. We have bigger heart. We have faced many rougher things.
There's been tourism is booming suddenly, and that is one of the points that the government holds out, that the removal of Article 370 has worked because all the tourists can go there. So I'm asking you that what do we, and it is one of the big important sources of livelihood for Kashmir, right?
It's a mistake that we make. Tourism is booming. The polling percentage has gone high.
No, the polling percentage, I believe that the Kashmiri people baffled everyone. They defied New Delhi, and they voted. They voted in ways that New Delhi's candidates could not win.
If you visited Jammu and Kashmir after 2010, between 2010 2014, Kashmir was all packed, and people turned their houses into guest houses. Between 2010 and 2014, we tend to forget those things. It was as it is right now. It was the same. It was similar, because we had a patch of 4 years which was very calm. We contained the situation. The people of Jammu and Kashmir contained the situation. Umar Abdullah's government contained the situation, and things were very calm. And tourism, naturally, the result was boom into tourism, and it was such that we didn't have places, enough rooms in hotels, and people turned their houses into guest houses. But was that a permanent feature? No, that was not. Therefore, is this a permanent feature? What is happening at the moment? No, it's not. Ask us. We know the reality. It's not a permanent feature. And though I would wish and I want this to be a permanent feature, but the fact remains, because I know the reality. I am scared. I am afraid that this is not
something will suddenly give.
Exactly the way.
I remember that those protests, that street protests, the stone throwing, came out of nowhere. I covered that. Suddenly there was a word, kya bolte the? slogan just
Ragda.
Ragda.
So we should not have these benchmarks. Yardstick should not be tourism, and there's many many levels to it. The yatris are counted as tourists, which we earlier didn't used to do.
Okay.
For us, the yatri coming to Jammu and Kashmir was one category, and the tourist coming for particularly for tourism, thing was a particular category. We didn't combine the two. Otherwise, we could show the numbers as are shown at the moment. Any person going to Vishnu Devi is counted as a tourist coming to Jammu and Kashmir.
But there are still, everything is packed, everything is booked.
As I said, this is not unprecedented. This has already happened in Jammu and Kashmir many times. But this is not a yardstick. This is not a standard by which you see the reality of Jammu and Kashmir. I am afraid, as I said, until the people of Jammu and Kashmir do not feel the way they are feeling at the moment, they feel alienated, they feel disenfranchised, they feel disempowered, they feel defeated. Until there's that sense of achievement, sense of being, sense of dignity, these things are not permanently addressed. We want these things to be permanently addressed and these features to be permanent. So this is not a permanent picture for Jammu and Kashmir.
Receding colonial powers, Kashmir, Pakistan, India, Pakistan, boundaries were decided. Israel was created around the same time in history by the colonial powers that be. And the Kashmir border has remained a conflict zone. Pakistan got divided. East Pakistan became Bangladesh. Kashmir has remained a conflict zone, and we are seeing this terrible conflict continuing in the Gaza, where there's a
entire Middle East is
in turmoil. No, but there is a massacre of people in Gaza according to the International Court of Justice.
It is.
And it's not Saba Naqvi taking a position. It is the International Court of Justice has said that is illegal what the Israelis are doing. So what I wonder is, Kashmir also is a troubled legacy. It is, you are trapped, the people's aspirations are trapped between national great games, geopolitical strategies,
Absolutely.
India, Pakistan, ideologies. I mean, that's what I feel, and it's been like that. What is the situation of a young person today in J&K? What is employment? Because I also found there's a certain middle class in Kashmir which is relatively prosperous, traditionally.
Always been.
No, there is the levels of literacy are high. There are all these many things which Kashmiri society has achieved itself. Literacy is high, beautiful cultural traditions. Your Lal Ded, your nature of the songs, the culture, the cuisine. Kashmir is a very exquisite place with a very exquisite cultural identity and all of that. So today, what is an aspiration of a young Kashmiri? What do they want? What can they look forward to? Joining the family business? Or can they get out? Does coming to India and looking for a job, do you go out of India?
At the moment, Kashmiris do not have aspirations. They are in a struggle to save themselves. They are trying to come to the terms with the new reality. I mean, every day there's a threat on their land. There's a threat on their job.
What is the land threat?
I call him the viceroy, not the individual but the institution, that is LG, Lieutenant Governor. He's for me the viceroy of New Delhi in Kashmir. He comes up with decisions, policies and decisions and orders that Kashmiris so-and-so at so-and-so place, Kashmiris have this much of land. They cannot have this much of land. We'll take this much of land from them and give it to the outsiders, and they say it breeze.
So are we seeing a settler policy?
We have. They are openly saying they want a demographic change in Jammu and Kashmir. They want to identify land which they could hand over to people from outside the state and then change the demographic.
So there is a land issue right now.
Land issue along
Are
that
non-Kashmiris
side.
allowed to own
Allow me
land
to
in
complete.
Kashmir?
Sorry?
Are non-Kashmiris allowed to buy land in Kashmir?
At the moment, yes. By law, yes, they are.
Oh, they are.
Yes, they are. Which is a hypocrisy. In Himachal Pradesh,
that's
cannot.
why. I know you cannot.
So, but in terms of Kashmir, it cannot be accepted. Why can't an outsider
Buy land?
in terms of state, come and buy land in Jammu and Kashmir?
So land is an issue.
While you have the same law for Himachal Pradesh, there you don't have a problem. But here you are hypocritic. So the people of Jammu and Kashmir are in a continuous struggle for their survival. They want to save themselves. They want to find ways how to save their future. Their land, their jobs. Their jobs are open for anyone to come. And we had a pool of 12 million people to compete in between, to compete among, the population of Jammu and Kashmir. Now we have to compete from a pool of 1,400,000,000 people.
You mean within the jobs in Kashmir government?
It's thrown open for the entire nation.
It was not so earlier Kashmir.
It was not like Himachal Pradesh and many other places. It was not like that.
There was a lot of Kashmiris in the secretariat and all, I remember.
Absolutely. It was for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. He may be Hindu, she may be Hindu, he may be Muslim, she may be Muslim.
And
didn't
Pandits,
matter,
there were a lot of Pandits still employed in
yes.
government service there.
So at the moment,
all of that, now what is happening in that?
Now everything is taken away from people of Jammu and Kashmir.
No,
now,
is it only from the Muslims or is it from Muslims, or Pandits still have their jobs, right?
Their jobs are open for anyone. Jobs are open for anyone. The resources are used. The people of Jammu and Kashmir, I can give you an example of 2 or 3 resources. There's a small scale industry with which some people earn their livings. Mining. There's mining from mountains where they get stones and all those stuff. Mining from rivers, hand mining, not with the machinery. You have an order, a policy imposed upon us that mining cannot be done. Had it stopped there, I would say it was okay. But mining cannot be done. At the same time, the contracts are given to the contractors from outside Jammu and Kashmir.
Oh. Not to the Kashmir.
They are not allowed. They are not allowed.
They're not allowed.
They are not allowed.
No, are you sure?
I'm sure.
These are the rules. Kashmiris cannot bid for the mines.
It's not written that Kashmiris cannot bid for the mining. Yes, the contractors, because they know their profile is not as big as the contractors from outside, with a turnout of 5,000 crore rupees, with a turnout of 200 crore rupees, 300 crore rupees. That local laborer from that local guy who would mine stuff from rivers has a turnout of 300 rupees per day, has a turnout of 500 rupees per day. Now the criteria is, unless you fall in this criteria, you cannot mine. And that criteria, those particular contractors, fill
the
in.
big miners of India.
Big miners of India, small scale mining, low level mining is not allowed for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. There's a ring road coming up both in Jammu and in Kashmir. The contractor is from outside Jammu and Kashmir. It is not allowed that a local can work. The laborer is from outside Jammu and Kashmir. The supply material brought on the trucks, the trucks cannot be from Jammu and Kashmir.
But labor was always required from outside, no? Didn't you? Kashmir always required labor.
Not all of them.
Not all.
Not all of them. Certain kind of labor was done by people of Jammu and Kashmir. And at the moment, you can go and take your camera and take your team and go ask them. No trucks, no supplies, no contract, no laborer, no contractor is allowed from Jammu and Kashmir. At least a truck supplying this material could be used from Jammu and Kashmir.
Nothing.
From that locality where that land is used. Nothing. The trucks are brought from outside the state. And
so what Kashmiris do is carpet weaving?
At the moment, traditionally they do carpet weaving,
and tourism. What is it?
Tourism, horticulture is apple
apple
production is another thing. It has its own story. A year ago, we had truckloads of apple, which was stopped at Banihal for 15 days.
The entire crop got destroyed.
And on the other side, they got apple from America and Iran. Brought that here, and the entire market, and when these were filled with those apples, no duty imposed on that, no import tax.
And right now, what is the situation?
The situation is the same. People of Jammu and Kashmir are not able to compete with the apple that comes from the outside.
Iran and America.
Though the taste is not that good, but the rate is lower.
So horticulture is also facing a crisis.
Every sector is facing a crisis.
Every sector.
In Jammu and Kashmir. The cost of living is unheard of.
Really?
It could go this high. And ease of living was at least there in Jammu and Kashmir. I have said it in my election campaign also, that at least you could never see someone forced to sleep and live, beneath a flyover or a bridge or in a drain in
Now
Jammu
you're
and Kashmir.
finding that?
I mean, in a due course you will.
You will.
We in Jammu and Kashmir, it's not about religion. All of us at least had a plot, small little plot, and a house to live in. We had a property. Then it could differ from what amount of property you have. No one was houseless, landless, shelterless. At the moment, I was talking about the cost of living, and the cost of living was at least comfortable. You could earn 300, 400 rupees a day and live like a middle class.
Okay.
Live like a middle, because you had your own plot and shelter. The electricity, the cost of water and all those things was not that high. Any household which we call poor household, which would get the the electricity bill monthly, their bill would be 300, 400, 500. At the moment it's 2,500. All of a sudden, 2,500. Ration, the cost has gone.
Yeah.
So the cost of living has gone up.
Gone up. Yeah, it's gone up. But it's particularly hard in a state where there's no real industry.
There's no industry. There's no manufacturing. There's no private sector.
Yeah.
It's
just the traditional few things.
Horticulture you have.
Horticulture, some shawls and carpets and
hand weaving things, shawls, carpets, and that's the economy and tourism.
And tourism.
That is the ecosystem.
You have moved a private member's bill seeking to make it full prohibition of alcohol and all in Jammu. I think the only Indian state is Gujarat. You're doing that in a state which also is dependent on tourism. What are your compulsions for doing that? Why?
They compelled us. We had this understanding that tourists do come, and it's not a forced thing. We cannot force our choice on others. We in Jammu and Kashmir, majority of us do believe that this is something which is not advisable. We do not consume it. But there are people who come from outside. They have their own religion. They have their own understanding. For them, it's okay. They can consume. We had that understanding. Therefore, we had the understanding and the respect. And on the other side, the people visiting Jammu and Kashmir had that understanding and respect for the society. No one would come and consume it in open and then behave unruly.
Is that what is happening?
That's what is happening and regularly happening. The amount of wine shops are purposely increased.
That I know. They've increased all over.
All over. And the tourists, those who come, I don't know how and why they behave like that.
Always some tourists somewhere. It's not just in...
The number is growing. The streets of Srinagar, you can see, filled with people who drink in open and then abuse it. They don't only drink it, they abuse it. Drink it to the level then where they become very unruly. But what about the
local population? Is there now, I was reading about a drug problem being created locally. Can you just elaborate? Is that true? I saw one investigation on...
there's a big problem of drug abuse in Jammu and Kashmir. And I can see a pattern and purpose in this.
Tell me. Punjab had the same problem?
It happened soon after 2019. It started picking up. The problem started spreading, and to the areas where the establishment has good hold, good presence in terms of army, in terms of police, in terms of paramilitary, in terms of entire security grid. If they wanted, this couldn't be imported. If they wanted, this can be checked at multiple levels. No other place has multiple layers of security and check as in Jammu and Kashmir. No other place. See?
So are you suggesting that it is allowed to reach the young people?
With those multiple layers of security and check that we have in Jammu and Kashmir, if drug is supplied to Jammu and Kashmir, you have many institutions to question.
Well, it's interesting. Punjab also had a militancy problem. It's now racked with this drug problem.
Because their youth were turned into drug addicts. It was visibly as part of the policy to turn that youth into drug addicts. And that's what the pattern is similar in Jammu and Kashmir. It's
disturbing to think of that happening in Kashmir.
I can't believe, I can't digest, and I can't take the argument that the administration cannot stop it.
You think they can stop?
They can stop.
Interesting. Very, very important thing you're saying about the drug problem over there.
I repeat, with the layers of security that
how are so many drugs reaching the young people who are in any case alienated, there are not
Absolutely.
opportunities and all.
Absolutely.
It's a disturbing scenario. Is there anything else that we are coming to the end of this fascinating conversation. Is there anything else that you think?
We don't get this opportunity through many mediums, but since yours is a genuine one and accommodative, not for me only, but the entire, for all shades, we the people of Jammu and Kashmir have, given our blood for the idea of democracy and the idea of India.
Yeah.
And we have, our efforts are more than what could be a normal effort. An Indian sitting in a AC room speaking about nationalism, patriotism, I respect that, but cannot equate himself or herself with a citizen of Jammu and Kashmir speaking for the same idea and standing against gun and violence, standing against a chance of being killed, and many of us have been killed. Therefore, respect the shade of opinion that comes from the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They may be politically a bit from a different shade. They may have an idea which may not be particularly that of yours, but that's a shade that we were promised to have.
Yeah.
We were guaranteed that we can have different shades in this country. Therefore, to conclude it, to put it in one sentence, I would want to say that Article 370 is, was, and will always be an article of faith. That was not anti-national article. That was an article through which we connected, through which we got the dignity, through which we got the rights of the Indian Constitution, through which we got the place in the democracy of India. Therefore, whatever happened on August 5, 2019 was unconstitutional, undemocratic, and completely unacceptable for the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Member of Parliament from Srinagar, a very, very important voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Frontline Conversations. Leading the debate since 1984.